welcome back again with me. I'm Ronnie Satria. Thank you so much for your time to stay here. We are going to have another kind of insightful discussions right now. Before we talk about financial institutions, and we're going to be discussing about ESG and more into the environment. So this is very interesting how to see the two speakers here. Let me just introduce them briefly. The first we have Pak Eki Rinaldi, AI consultant, Ministry of Communications and Digital Affairs, Republic of Indonesia. Welcome, Pak Eki. And we have Professor Puai Guan Go, Prof. Go, Associate Professor from the National University of Singapore. Thank you for coming, Prof. Go. Well, Green AI and ESG, innovating for a sustainable and responsible future. Let me just give a briefly introduction about this, what we are going to talk about this afternoon. We witness rapid progress in artificial intelligence, and we must also pause to ask, at what environment and ethical cost? That's probably that we can see from social media, talking about how it the data center, something related to the environmental cost that can be impacted by AI. AI models are growing larger right now, smarter, but also more resource intensive. At the same time, ESG principles are no longer buzzwords. They are becoming essential frameworks for sustainable innovations. And in these conversations, we'll explore how AI and ESG can work together, agree, and not just to reduce carbon footprints, but to drive scalable, ethical, and future-proof solutions. I will be dividing these sessions into two segments also. A very short time we have here right now. We still have like in the next 27 minutes, we'll talk about how the strategy and the priority of the priorities of the green AI and ESG, and then the second segment we're going to talk about the innovations and responsible AI deployment. I will go to Pak Eki. Pak Eki, you are right now as we can say this, the government advisor. How is Indonesia thinking about integrating environmental sustainability into its national AI strategy?
Yes. Okay. So there are two things that I've seen the government as government body. There are two things that we need to take care about. The first thing is the strategy itself, where we already have an AI roadmap, what we call Stranas AI, the national strategy of AI.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I think that less people talk about is the incentives. So why the government and also the enterprises should abide into those strategy according to ESG things. And I think the second part, which is the incentives, hasn't really much talked about in Indonesia. Like there is a lot of policy that we are doing it, like roadmap AI and also the Stranas AI, but there are no exact motivation for government bodies and also the enterprises. Why should we do this? What makes us, what we can benefit from this? And that's a thing that we need to work on.
Okay.
Like the incentives and I think I can say as reward and punishment.
Reward and punishment.
Yes, reward and punishment. I think that's a practical thing that we need to talk more about rather than just talking about the policies, because we need to do more action on this, like how we can quantify our carbon produced, and how we can make sure that those enterprises, those body of government, save our data, like secure our data. We need to they need to explain how they handle our data.
Okay.
So of course the environmental impact and those things, those two things, strategy and the incentives are things that we need to really talk about in Indonesia to align more about the ESG.
Frameworks and policies are there.
Yes.
Combined with incentives. But still, the question is how to execute it properly. Until now, it's because it's still ongoing, or needs maybe people as the human-centered people to do that activities or actions.
Yes, especially when we are talking in managerial or executives, there are less exposure about what is the ESG exactly talking about, and what is why should we care about the environment, and those awareness need to be more voiced about.
Okay.
We need to do more education on ESG for executives and how we can impact them.
Okay. I'll move to Prof. Go. What mentioned before by Pa Eki also need more sound of ESG thing to public, and as a global academic uh, standpoint, and also how the innovations you've done with the National University of Singapore, how can Green AI be operationalized without shifting AI progress itself?
Okay, sure. I think that there are a couple of ways to look at this, right? So first of all, we often have the assumption that these are trade-off between cost and efficiency.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's true because some of these regulatory costs will actually add to the business cost, because it's part of the regulatory push to improve the environmental sustainability, right? But at the same time, you look at a lot of the AI applications, actually in the process of improving efficiency, we will also improve the environmental sustainability as well.
All right.
Right. So if I give some examples around this, right? So just how Park and I were talking about smart buildings. Okay. So if you look at smart buildings and we apply, temperature control, we apply lighting control, right? So we have fewer people, there's nobody in the room, we turn off the lights, we adjust the temperature, we adjust, the aircon and stuff like that. So this is a smart building concept. And that has an efficiency gain, right? Because of AI, because we actually reduce energy usage. So there is an efficiency gain, but at the same time, the efficiency gain will also have an environmental impact. Yeah. And that's one example that I think that we can all understand, right? When you think about, in the whole supply chain, in logistics, for example, there are a lot of examples like this, right? So if we are able to improve efficiency in our manufacturing, we keep less stock, we are better at predicting what's happening. Therefore, our reduction of wastage of your production, the reduction of wastage has a business value. But at the same time, the reduction of wastage will then also improve the environment, right? As a result of reducing the wastage itself. Okay. So examples like this, right? So even when we talk about e-commerce delivery or when we talk about logistics and trucking delivery, the fact that we do better route planning, better optimization, we use fewer trucks. Each truck is loaded, to maximum, rather than running around everywhere. All this planning of the logistics network has a business value because it means that we save costs. But then it also has an environmental impact, right? Because we reduce our carbon emissions.
Are there existing benchmarks or industry guidelines that ASEAN nations already implemented that maybe Indonesia can adapt?
I think there are a lot. There are a lot of global standards already. I'm not sure what are the standards in Indonesia. Okay. In fact, I would say that the problem now is probably that it's not that there are no standards. There are a lot of standards. there are different region and country standards.
Okay.
So European Union has its own standard, for example. Maybe other countries have their own standard. So with these kind of standards, I think it's more of how do we meet these different standards in different markets, and sort of adjust for the different markets. In some cases, for compliance reporting, for example, it means that we have to do reporting, compliance reporting in different ways for different markets. And in fact, I also know companies that use AI to help because you have certain formats, and then how do we convert format A to format B, and format C, right? So that we don't have to re-key in the information at the same time.
Okay, I'll go back to Pak Eki, but these questions will be applied to both of you. How should ESG principles be embedded in AI product design and deployment?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting since AI currently moving so fast.
Yeah.
And one thing that I working on in Nusantara is we combine AI with IoTs. So the thing is, when we are talking about ESG, we are talking about sensors, how the AI itself got the data. So, for example, we are working on fire sensors in the forestry, and also we are working with flood sensors to make sure that there is no flood.
Interesting, fire sensor and flood sensor. Yeah.
Yes, and by combining those IoTs to AI, we can certainly monitor like every minutes or every hours to make sure that those areas are safe from environmental hazard. I think that's also can be applied for carbon capture, where we can combine the IoTs to capture the air qualities into and combine it with the AI agent that can be used to to reduce those effect or alert the specific section or specific team in this area to do the inspection in this area. So yeah, combination of AI and IoTs could help to monitor the ISC in this.
How is it working right now in IKN?
Yeah, so it's currently used for monitoring right now, especially on forestry because we built Nusantara like nowhere in the middle of January, right?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that there is no fire because it will be disastrous. And I think around February back then when we had a lot of storm and heavy rain, yeah, it could help us detect a flood early, especially in this residential area. So it could help us evacuate and navigate faster to those specific events.
More into the mitigation, right?
Yes.
And for disaster that would happen.
Yes.
Okay. Going back to you, Prof. Go. Same questions. How should ESG principle be embedded in AI product design?
Sure. I think so. If we look at the example like this, right, we are tracking information at the source.
Okay.
So one is a real-time monitoring, right? We are
Real-time.
able to track whether something is happening real time, and therefore we are able to react more quickly. In this case, forest fires or floods, for example. The other thing that we can think about is how do we track information from the source. So when we are exporting to overseas, because of compliance issue, right, we need to show that we actually comply to certain regulations, right, around ESG, especially for export to Europe, for example. And that's the case, for example, with palm oil exports, right, where we have to show compliance to certain EU regulations.
Yes.
So using IoT in this case to be able to trace and show that we are in compliance has a benefit both ways, right? Because it helps us to move things.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it also means that the environmental is better taken care of. Right. So in that sense, in terms of that traceability, I think it's very useful. Of course, the other thing that comes up is like we talk about food safety, for example. So in agriculture, we talk about food safety, and again, that has a benefit, right? So if we're able to trace where the food is coming from, we can prevent, one is prevent food wastage, right? But the other one is also a safety issue. That means to say that if food is going to rot, right, because it's traveling long distance, we know beforehand, right, and therefore we will not consume it, right, or we will throw away the food before it goes to the consumer. So these are the kind of benefits I think that actually incorporating this kind of ESG principles, right, through these IoT devices will be helpful.
I'm still with you, Prof. Goh, because we are moving to this second segment right now about the AI deployment. Can you share a case or trend where sustainability-driven AI innovations has shown measurable impact? Show a case or a trend that the sustainability-driven AI innovations has shown measurable impact.
Okay. I think the current measurable impact is probably more on the business cost savings.
Oh,
So from me, when I look at digitalization and digital transformation in general, I tend to think that the low-hanging fruit is on the efficiency and cost savings.
Okay.
Because that is easier to measure in terms of how much money we save, how much manpower cost we save, or how much resources, trucks or factory space we save as a result, and that is for electricity we save. So that's probably an easier way to show the measurable impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular in the energy optimization or smart logistics or carbon reduction, for example?
Yeah, sure. So example would be like, for example, in logistics or in smart buildings, right? So in the energy consumption for smart buildings, definitely it can be shown that electricity usage is reduced.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In some cases, so for example, when we talk about net zero building, right, there are a couple of such showcases in Singapore, and you're fitted with solar panels, right, for partial usage, right, through the day. It's possible to demonstrate, right, that there's reduction in energy usage, blah blah blah, and energy cost, and therefore then from there will be a certain ROI. So that's one, right. Then for things like trucking, certainly when we reduce the number of trucks, that will have an environmental benefit. Of course, for the businesses, they may not necessarily see it this way. They may not necessarily emphasize the environmental benefit, but certainly they would already have the cost reduction, right, from having to do fewer deliveries or to have better customer service because they are able to do more deliveries in a day.
Okay. Go back to you, Eki. Would you give us the examples of how our governments, because you are as an advisor, other than probably that you've mentioned also previously about how ITA and Nusantara already implemented some of the way how ESG and AI is together complementary to each other. Maybe you can give any other example that how, for example, like climate monitoring, emission tracking, or sustainable agriculture.
Okay, so for sensors that I've been mentioned before, like fire and also flood, it is publicly ready. So we have around 37 sensors in total, not including CCTVs, which can be publicly accessible. So this, so that's also not including the air quality sensors. So we make it publicly accessible. Why? So every developers on those areas and also on other parties that request the data can access those data freely for their research purpose.
Okay.
So, for example, that if we get a flyer, for example, they can get their own allowance. So that's one example that we built right now. We also have the open data. So for every instance or another kementerian dan lembaga can also access those data to get more information about how Nusantara has been built. For example, like how much the investment is going on.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Second thing is which area that has been uh, booked by investors. Those and also third is the sensor itself. How the weather looks like. Is there any flood? Is there any fire? And also, is there any criminals? How many people visit this? How many people visit this area, those area, and etc. So those data are already available with certain access to us. So it can help them in need to make to make a data-driven decision making.
Okay, stay where you are, Eki. I'm still with you. But the concern right now, of course, we are facing biggest obstacles in terms of regulatory gaps or technological maturity. Would you, give us a glimpse of what actually the obstacles that you are uh, encountering with the doing this with IKN or maybe other institutions in Indonesia?
Yeah, I think I can say that much of our 39 ministries are knowledge has much silo on information, which is make it hard for us to have to make a decision making process. So let's say, for example, that we want to have access of how much area that has been
Covered?
no, not covered, but more on the pembebasan lahan. What is it? Pembebasan
Alright,
lahan.
we
What is
say
it?
pembebasan lahan is okay. I understand.
Okay, so that's an example that we only get those data in Japan.
Okay.
The other example is the 3D geospatial. Geospatial data. So because we can get those anywhere, we build our own data by using drones.
All right.
Like 3D drones to gather 3D geospatial data all over the country. So silo data and also lack of the lack of primary data is the most concerning things that I found around governments.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see, Prof. Bob, when you see this kind of, challenges, obstacles, we would say that that's actually what in the fields right now is occurring. Maybe from your academic perspective, what would you say about the how to make it uh, cross sector awareness about these obstacles, and then they can manage it properly and then solve it gradually to make it better.
Sure. I think that there's obviously some challenges, right, in terms of encouraging the adoption and stuff like that. So certainly education and creating awareness is one area. Also, the cost of not doing something today will actually increase the cost tomorrow, right? If you are to do it later on. So that is one way of looking at it, right? From the sort of educational creating awareness kind of example. The other thing that I would say is also that in terms of just how we talk about AI applications, right? And I would also say that the other way of how it helps, right? So for example, looking at new materials, for example, or using AI that actually helps. So just how we talk about cost cutting, but on the business model aspect, right? There are also ways that we are able to increase, improve the R&D, right? So, for example, the creation of new materials, or creation of sort of hydrogen or new types of business models or alternative fuels. That would be helpful, right? In terms of creating this new type of innovations that will improve the sustainability itself. Then the other point that I was going to say, sorry, I jumped back to your original question, is that we also have to address the cost of this, right? And it's kind of related. So, for example, when you look at consumer surveys and how much we are going to pay, and we will do a survey of the room, right? And it's across every place, right? Every city, every country is like that. Consumers will not pay more, too much more, right, for sustainable packaging. And generally, we want more colorful packaging. We want bigger packaging. We don't want paper bags. Okay, so this is scientifically proven because this is marketing psychology. So from a consumer marketing point of view, we always want larger looking package. We want more colorful package, right? So when you talk about the education, or whether consumers are going to pay more for sustainable aviation fuel, for example, or for biofuel, it is very difficult, right? So we need to be able to have that. One is education, the other one is having the technology solutions that reduce, the technology solutions that reduce the cost of this, right? So that, so for example, being able to do sustainable aviation fuel in a cheaper way, so that it will then help with, the adoption itself.
Okay.
Yeah, in that sense.
We're coming to the end of our discussions today, but before that, I'd like to invite each of you to offer a final thought. And if you had to recommend one next step Indonesia should take in the next 6 or 12 months to accelerate sustainable and responsible AI adoption, what would it be? I'll start with Pak.
Okay, I think I can summarize into three things. So the first one is increase awareness.
Awareness.
Yes, across ministries, especially. Second, we need to finish our roadmaps and also the national strategy of AI, where it can align between ESG and IoTs.
Okay.
And third, we create incentives and also policies for companies to buy into the ESG policies. So
awareness, it starts from the awareness and then how the strong framework of Strana's AI, and after that, give incentives.
yes,
I mean, that's the 3 points that you came up with. Prof. Go, what would you say? How you recommend one next step for Indonesia?
Sure. I think I would say that probably two areas. One is that first of all, we have to align to business benefit, because I always believe that it's very hard to just drive by regulatory change alone, because otherwise we pay lip service, which is the greenwashing, but we just do enough, right? Because it's the regulation said so, but we are not. The company is not committed to it. So I think there must be alignment of business value. So the business value has to come from either cost saving or from the development of new markets. So when we talk about alternative energy or renewable energy, or being able to create green data centers, perhaps being able to export green energy or renewable energy from Indonesia out, right? Then that creates the incentive from a business point of view to actually engage in it, right? So just a concrete example, if you look at green data centers in Singapore, for example, we actually buy solar power from Indonesia, right? So that is a business model, right? That actually works, because people want it, right? Then there's an encouragement to create something like this, and not just because top says so. Then it's very greenwash as a result as well.
Well, let's give a big round of applause for the two speakers today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again, Mikey, and also Prof. Go for your time and very insightful conversation today. And really hope that the AI advances, and it's clear that it's faster, of course, but we really need to see it as a fairer, greener, and also more responsible systems. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I'm Ronnie Satria. Bye bye.